Hi everybody, and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to show you how to color in hair digitally using Photoshop. Now, the first thing you need is a drawing, and the second thing you need to do is you need to create a new layer, and let's name this layer hair because we're going to be coloring in the hair. Life is easy. Then you're going to go to either your ink layer or your blocking lines layer, and you're going to select all the hair with the wand tool. So to get the wand tool, you just press Ctrl W, and you're going to select all the hair. Now the reason I have a blocking lines layer is because I like to do my line art traditionally and then scan it into the computer, but that creates gaps. So doing a blocking line layer where you fill in those gaps can be helpful. So between my inking layer and my blocking line layer, I can select most, if not all, the hair. This last spot's giving me trouble, but we're not going to worry too much about it because I have a solution to that problem. Once all your hair is selected, go back to your hair layer and go to your paint bucket tool, and you're going to select the lightest color that your character's hair is. Now this girl, her hair is a very dark brown, so I'm going to start at kind of a medium brown for my lightest color. And I'm going to use the paint bucket tool to make all her hair that nice medium brown. If you missed any sections like I did here, just go into your brush tool and you're going to color them in the same brown that you have selected. So I'm going to color in this spot here, this little bit here, and this tricky little bit over here. And that's pretty easy. Now, the next thing you're going to do is you're going to create a new layer. So, and let's just name this hair 2. There's no point being creative here with the naming. And we are going to make this into a clipping layer. So that way I can only color on the hair. And to get the color, I'm going to go about 50% of the way down. I actually want a big difference between the lightest color and the medium color. That's going to help make the hair shiny. And to get the brush ready, the most important thing is that the opacity is at 80%. That's going to make the brush more streaky, and that's going to help show the texture of the hair using this particular technique. The last thing is pay attention to this spot here. This is where the hair grows out of, and I will do a how to draw hair video later. Right now I'm just talking about how to color it. And the hair begins here and it ends at the end of the hair. Now that's going to be really important. Let's zoom in here, because my hand, actually I'm right-handed, so my hand only moves in one direction, which is like this. So I need to make sure that my drawing matches how my hand moves. So I'm going to start down here, and like most of my drawings, I like to start at the darkest spot. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sort of flick my wrist, picking it up at the end, and that's going to create this kind of shape here where the light is. Okay, and what I'm imagining is I'm imagining the form of the hair. This back spot here can be colored in totally dark, and I'm just following the contour of the hair, and I'm pulling off to make sure that I create light spots where I believe the light is going to hit the hair, sort of where the hair is bending in most cases. And what you can see is because the brush is at that 80% opacity, the places where my brush overlaps with itself, they're going to be a little bit darker, and that's going to create most of the texture that I need for the hair. So with the light coming mostly from the upper left hand corner, I'm going to try to make sure that this light gap is the most wide on that side of her head. Now I've reached the limit of what I can do with my wrist on this side, and so now what I need to do is I need to press Ctrl R, and I need to rotate my drawing so that it fits my hand. Now my hand hasn't changed. My hand can only move in this direction here. but I've changed the drawing so that it fits my hand. So I'm going to sort of repeat that process. I'm going to continue working from the darkest spots of the hair, flicking my wrist, and allowing my hand to come up to create light. And the light is really, like I said, what's going to help give this thing shape. Not shape, it's going to help give it form. Remember, a shape is something like a triangle. A form is something like a pyramid with 3D attributes. So the light spots here on these bangs are going to be the parts where the hair is bending forward the most. And that's the spot that's going to catch the most light. And so I'm just going to keep doing it here. And you don't need these strokes to be exact. There's no exact at this point, because we're actually going to continue building up multiple layers, going darker and darker and darker until we've really fully developed this hair. And I think I might have to rotate it just a little bit more to help my hand out. So to rotate it again, press Ctrl R, and let's rotate again. And the other thing that I tend to do when I'm coloring a hair is I like to start at either the end of the hair, where the individual hair strand ends, or the beginning of the hair, where the individual hair strand grows. And because most of the time I find that these light spots tend to be more so in the middle rather than at the ends. For hair that's in the back, start closer to the hair that is obscuring it. And each layer of hair, the further back it is, the darker it can be. And that's going to help show you the different layers. Now, my hand fits this direction, and that's going along with her hair. And I'm going to probably finish the rest of this layer in time lapse. So I'll see you guys back in a couple of seconds. Okay, and we're back. So what you should have at this point is you should have a streaky version of your drawing. You're going to go to a new layer, and you're going to name this Hair 3, or anything that you really like. The name doesn't matter. And you're going to make this a clipping layer, and you're going to pick a color that's a little bit darker and a little bit more towards the right so that it's more vibrant. As you get darker, it's more important to have more vibrance so that you can see the original color. And then you're going to start at the darkest spots, and you're going to follow the same curves and contours of the original hair. What makes this second stage a little bit different is that you want to make sure that you preserve some of the light that you've created. So you want to approach the light spots that you made without running all the way through it. The other thing is we've created a lot of really nice streaks using our 80% brush, and it would be a shame to go over some of the nice spots that we created. So what I would say is, while you're doing this, keep an eye on some of the nice shiny spots that you're creating in your hair, and make sure that you don't go over those with this darker hair color. Otherwise, you'll find that your hair is just all one flat dark color, and it's not really shiny, and it's not really textured, and it doesn't look very good. Other than that, the advice is basically the same. Make sure you press the Ctrl R button and rotate your drawing as needed, like I'm going to do right here. 1, 2, 3. Ooh. And go through the rest of your drawing and adding in the second dark color. And since that's basically the same thing as what I've already showed you, we're going to do this stage also in time lapse. Okay, and we're back. And we're going to get ready to do another pass. So go to New Layer, and let's name this one Hair 4. And we're going to select a darker color, almost but not black. So approach black, and we're going to use this layer to show depth. So areas that are behind the head are going to get a lot of this dark color. So right here, and you can see that as soon as I start adding that, it starts to bring the head forward and bring that part of the hair backwards. The reason for this is things that are closest to us often pick up more light than things that are further away. So we're going to apply this dark color in places that are darker, but also in places that are further away. So areas that we're going to hit some of the middle parts of these bands of hair, and we're going to hit a lot of the areas that are behind her head, so where the hair starts to blow out, and some of the hair strands that are even behind that major bulk of hair. So with this process, it's very similar to what we've been doing. So we'll go back into time lapse again, but pay attention to the areas that get hit with this darker color. They are mostly going to be behind things. And let's start the time lapse now. Okay, and we're back, and maybe no more time lapse. Let's do one more new layer, and let's name this Hair 5. And we're now going to pick our darkest color for the hair. For this, you can choose black if you want. I'm going to go just a little bit lighter than that, but at this point it doesn't really matter. You can't go any darker than this. And this color is going to be exclusively used to show depth. So right in here, behind the head, behind the neck, basically anything where you really need to show that one thing is in front of the other. So right here, this piece of hair is going under that, so it's going to get some of the black. And this part of the hair that's blowing out is going to get some as well. So this darkest color is only really going to be used to show depth. And it's also going to be used to show what the deepest things are. So this area behind, oh, I forgot to turn on my clipping layer. So if you do that, just turn on clipping layer and it'll hide everything. So go in and just go through the darkest parts. And that way you're going to show depth. If you use this color in other sections of the hair, it's going to mess around with your depth. So only use this one to show how deep certain things are, and it should be used quite conservatively. And now the last thing to do is you're going to try to separate some of the different elements using some rim light. So make a new layer and you're going to call it rim light. And for this, what I like to do is I like to sample the lightest color and change the hue a little bit towards yellow, or you can change it towards blue. Yellow is good for warm light and blue is good for cold light. And then just any places where you really need some separation between what's in front and what's behind, use your rim light with that same streaky brush to just sort of try to separate some of the elements and make them look a little bit more forward. And that's basically it. The secret to drawing hair digitally is to use a brush with about an 80% opacity, work from your light colors to your dark colors, and build up your layers. Thank you very much for watching the video. I'll see you guys around. Bye.